Good evening, welcome to the studio this evening. The only problem is, having just welcomed you to the studio, is that I have just realised I forgot to turn my compressor on. So I'm just going to have to disappear off camera in order to go turn the compressor on. I could fire the other one up, I guess, but I shall be back shortly. Just a moment, I guess. You know what? Oh yes, there we go. There we go. My apologies for disappearing on you. Incredible Wolfie, good evening. You're now on version 1.2. 1.2.0. Ooh, blimey. It's getting that much that you're actually onto 3-digit version numbers. Sorry I disappeared. I forgot to turn my compressor on. And given that the tank... Yeah, it's warm in here. Given that the tank was empty, it's a good job I did. So, more airbrushing. Well, last night, I didn't do it last night. So the last night I streamed, which was the night before last night I was absolutely cream crackered, I guess is the word. I was falling asleep, and there was no way it was worth streaming. It would have been a complete disaster. So I had a rest. You have a decent intro for the second time. So you're going to do some playtesting. Okay, that's always a good idea, is playtesting. Yeah, so Wednesday night, after the stream, I ended up spending something like about an hour and a half to 2 hours cleaning the airbrush. There was some, don't know what, but actually in the nozzle, and I couldn't get it because there was dirt, paint, whatever it was in the nozzle. It wouldn't seal, and an airbrush nozzle that doesn't seal isn't of much help because you get air up into the paint cup, which basically disrupts everything. It means paint's always coming out of it when it shouldn't be, and things like that. So I had to spend something like 2 hours cleaning out a nozzle that you can't see in, the tip of which is 0.2 millimeters in diameter, and the only thing you can clean it out with is a needle. Because you cannot put anything else in that nozzle because you will damage it. There's no brushes or anything that's 0.2 millimeters. That is tiny. So hopefully that means it might work better tonight, because if there was stuff in the airbrush, then that's a possible reason why it wasn't working as well as it had done in the past. So we're doing something, kind of going to have a play with something different tonight. I decided that I actually like the train as it was, with just the white stuff that we've done without putting any black on it, so I'm not going to bother putting any black on it. And I've taken that down, and I've got a new blank, I was going to say blank canvas, it's paper, it's not canvas, but so you threw everything away, left and stayed over. Okay, hey, that's... Hey, you know what? You're not doing bad if you've learnt to throw stuff away. That's a good skill to learn, especially early on, to decide when it's not worth trying to change what you've got, but it's easier or better, or for whatever reason, to throw it away and start again. That's a fantastic lesson to learn, so well done. I just wish people at work would learn that lesson sometimes. With some of the code that I've seen, it gets so convoluted because they're not willing to throw away the work that they've already done. Which, quite coincidentally, I did some software development tonight. After I finished work, I'd made in my case, a minor code amendment. I didn't throw it away and start again. I made a minor code development because I needed to reprogram my doorbell. I'm just laughing there because, you know, a doorbell that needs reprogramming. It's quite a concept. It's now got version, I guess, 1.1 software loaded in my doorbell, and it is just a doorbell push. It's nothing. It's not one of these video things or anything like that. But it's battery operated and it reports its voltage. And I made a mistake when I originally programmed it. I was getting the voltage in as an integer. I should have been getting it as either a float or double position number, because what comes after the decimal point matters. Because the battery's flat when it gets to 3.2 volts, and I need to know when to recharge it. Because there's no other indication on the doorbell that the battery is flat, apart from the fact that it reports its voltage every time it's used. No one told me, but it was like the intro was kind of... yeah. Well, you know, you've learned something. Whatever, you know, whether you learn what to do, what not to do, you've learned a bit about that, so, you know, it's fantastic. One thing a couple of things to be aware of. One is, you're always going to think you can do better, because you can. So you'll always look at it and go, you know what, I could do better at that. Well, you've got to, at some point you have to go, and it's like me with painting. You've got to go, you know what, I could do better, but I'm going to stop now. Sometimes you might make it better, sometimes you might make it worse if you carried on, but you stop now. I'm happy with it. I could do better, but I'm going to stop now. The other thing is about other people that try out the things for you, whether it's a painting or games or software or whatever. Be wary of the ones that are being nice. And go, yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, thinking in the head, God, I do not want to go near this again. So just be, you know, I am sure that you are able to tell those apart, but that's just, you know, you just have to be a little bit careful sometimes with friendly people, because they don't want to offend you. So sometimes, and that's kind of what I won't say you need offending, but you know what I mean, you need an honest opinion as opposed to somebody that's trying to be nice. But yeah. Yes, there is. You're right. There is a difference. I mean, there are times when it's obvious. You know, that's done. Whatever it is done really badly. Should be better done again. But there are times when you'll do. Well, I'd say art's a typical one. I'm just looking for something, but there's always something where you can go, I could do better with that. But you might spend 50 hours doing that. Is it worth the 50 hours or whatever it is you're going to spend? But yeah, no, you're right. You indeed are right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Very rare I mix that much paint. 12 drops, well, 6 drops of paint. It's yeah. Well, when I'm airbrush painting, I generally mix paint by drops, and so like 1 drop of this, 3 drops of that, and quite often that's a lot of paint. It's surprising just how far paint goes when you're airbrushing. Yeah, fun fact for you. If you take a colour like red and you add white to it, you're shading it, tinting it rather. If you add black to it, you're shading it. So, strictly speaking, if you go into a shop and get sort of white with a tint of yellow, it's actually the wrong way around. It's yellow with a tint of white. But for some reason, what people think and what's actually is completely different. It's just one of those fun facts. But the interesting thing about paint is just how strong colour is. If I wanted to make this grey, I would not put a 1 drop of black in it. Well, I might do, and it'd go really dark. Almost any colour with white, you put the tiniest bit in, and just about any other colour, red especially, but any of the pure colours, red, blue, green, black, even a drop in something like about 10 drops of white paint is enough to make it quite a dark colour. So I've got some white in there. Junior's just walked in somewhere. I saw him a minute ago. Oh, he's turned around and walked back out again, I think. That's a pity, I was going to pick him up. So, let's see how this is going to go. Oh, he is there. Where did you just hide? He's just gone out now. Oh well, again I can't pick him up because he's gone out. So, airbrush. Remember to remove the... I've only done it once, forgot to remove the nozzle cap, and paint does come out, just not very well, because it has a hole in the end. You can actually see. He says, trying to hold this up to the camera. Not very well. No, there is a hole in the end, but put that down somewhere. So, I thought, the other day when I was talking about images, and the plane was the first one, the train was the second one. I seem to be in transport at the moment, so my third one was a canal boat. So I'm kind of thinking canal boat for this, and I do have some reference pictures of canal boats, because one of the things that's always difficult with long objects. I'm doing long objects. Make up your own jokes. Trains, planes, canal boat. It's perspective. Getting perspective right. Always good to have something to look at. See, perspective, or in actual fact, it's a concept known as foreshortening, where long things look really short when they're coming towards you, but you get sort of a big fingers, if you like, and then a short, long arm. I can't really. It's sort of. Can I show it? But it's sort of that look. I mean, my arm does not look that long when you look at it from that angle. But of course, if you try to do it any other way, it would look absolutely silly. You also found something better. Now you can use tiles and add them. Okay. So you found out how to use external pictures, so you can save money on assets. Well, that's great. I mean, to some extent, with something like that, what you can do is you can play about. Your graphics may not be what you would like them to be, but once you develop your game, your gameplay, and then what you can do is you can then. That's assuming you can do it with your game engine, but you can go back and improve the graphics afterwards, if you've got something that you feel is worth doing it with. So that's always good. But now you've got more resources. Okay, so I've got white paint coming out. So which way do I want to do this? So I'm kind of, well, obviously I've got canal boat. Now I've got two ways I can do canal boat, because you're looking at it from the canal side, so you're going to see it end on. So it's either that way or it's that way, because you won't see it directly nose on. Not on, well, I suppose there's a possibility, but unless you're sort of stood in the middle of the canal, and then you're rather wet. And since they're usually about 6 foot deep in the centre, you're sort of just somewhat drowning slightly. So. But having said which, if you were on a T-junction, which they do get in canals, then you might see it coming straight towards you. So, but I'm not going to do that. It's more interesting when they're at an angle anyway. So the question is, which way do I do it? I can either do it, well, a lot of the things I'm doing is that way. The plane was pointing that way, the train was pointing that way. Let's do it this way. Sounds like a good idea. So let's start with, now then, one of the interesting things here is going to be the fact that quite a lot of times canal boats, certainly in the UK, I don't know about elsewhere, have black painted hulls. So what we've got is a situation of not painting a canal boat, but negative space, where we're going to be painting around the canal boat or around the hull and leaving the boat itself unpainted. Now that's a different challenge in negative space. I mean, it's a really useful thing to use, but it is a different challenge. You're gonna get snack. Okay. Yeah, you go get your food. Like that. So let's go sort of like that. That's a bit gonna be like that. Something like that, probably a bit wider than that, something like that. Maybe a little bit higher, so perhaps a bit wider across there. Then that can go backwards like that. You know what, that's a bit low. So let's say we go from, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go over with this with black. So we've got that there. We've got a hull about there. Now I can come up a bit further on that, I think. So we've now got a roof, because we'll do a pleasure craft as opposed to a working craft, I think. Down there like that. You know what, let's have a bit of fun with this. So we've got the end of it about there. Yeah, why not? So let's do, can I do this right? Like that. Yeah, like that. That's not bad. Okay. And then what we can do is we can put some, what would be sort of greenery, well, greenery in white there. And then we've got water here. May or may not put anything behind it. So it's sort of, yeah. Now if we've got a bridge, so what we're going to need is, unless I'm going to put something at this side, we're going to need a, yeah, something. Probably up there like that. Okay. And then, because we're coming out there, what we're going to do is That's that's that. So we're going to probably have a bow up there like that. I think that's not too bad. So let's just put some white in down here. And that would sort of fade out into there a little bit. I'm forgetting to talk, aren't I? With something like that, then what we do is we come down there like that, roughly, because then we've got the bow of the boat round about there. That's probably a little bit high, but is okay. That will come down there. And then we've probably got a bow line across there like that, and then we're into the water down here. Let's assume that we've got some sort of lighting, so we're not seeing Now then, so if we are talking about a pleasure craft, we're probably going to have some windows in there. If this was a working boat, then your cabin's right back here and all of this would be a tarpaulin. But it would probably be like a tent tarpaulin, be a point here. So the tarpaulin just is over a single rail, but this is, you know, I'm doing it as a pleasure craft, so people that are inside want to see out. Okay, thanks. Yeah, incredible. Not really been playing it for the moment. But I'll bear it in mind. I'm on watch chat. Yeah. Well, if you don't want not nice criticism, go on the internet. Yeah. Well, I got over that years ago. If I'm happy with what I'm doing and don't particularly care about people who think otherwise, if it's constructive, I don't mind. I do have to be careful about, because I've got this big easel in front of me and the things over there, I really should move things around a little bit more so I can bring the screen closer to me. But it's off to one side, it's out of my focus. So I've got to keep looking, but so I'm a little bit slow responding. Have you? It sounds a bit like you've had some experience of not nice criticism on the internet. Have you been posting something? But yes, and watch chat. I will keep an eye out on chat. But if anybody criticises that, that's for the people who like it. If you don't like it, not a problem. I have fun creating it, and it doesn't matter what other people think about it. I mean, I could, if I was really feeling so inclined, say, you know what, that's finished. I'm not going to, not tonight. So if I want to put, I don't know, what sort of windows do I put in? I'm probably going to make this one more detailed than I did the train, just because. So we're going to have sort of, let's put something in there. And not always big windows, but let's put make it look like we've got a couple of big windows in there, and we'll put some little things in. Now usually there's a nameplate, probably in that sort of area. Nameplate, name boards and things like that. You dislike because calls up several reasons. I hate it. Why? Yeah. I know what you mean. I hate it because it's black and it's white and it's got paint on it, and it looks like a boat, and it sort of got white tape around it, and yeah. Or you get the other one, you know, things like, because it's made out of paper. Right. Okay. Yeah, name boards. I think that one, name board would be about here. Something that you usually see on canal boats in the UK anyway. They would be usually the boat name, possibly a company name. Often, I won't say port of registration because they're not registered in that way, but you know, usually the idea being like working boats, you would have their operating location, you know, county or town on there as well. Why are you suddenly going all thick paint? It might do. It might do. It might not. You never know. But you know, it's being thick-skinned about it. You know, you look at the comments and is what you say to yourself: is this person being constructive? If they don't like something, but they explain why they don't like it in a reasonable way, then okay, you sort of look at it and go, do I agree with that? Because you know, different people have different views of games, and whatever. You know, some people just don't like canal boats, for example, so they're never going to like a picture. So you know, it's if somebody sort of was to sort of say, I don't like that, it's a canal boat. Well, okay, that's your opinion. Too bad. Somebody sort of says, that's not quite right because the perspective on that window is, you know, you've drawn the perspective wrong, or you've just, it should be aligned like. Okay, that's a constructive comment. You listen to that, and then maybe you either do something about it, or you go, okay, I'll remember that for next time. And you treat it like that. And if you treat it like that, you throw away all the comments of people that are just being awkward to be awkward or nasty to be nasty, and you know, you just ignore them completely because you know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you annoyed. You know what? People who try to make me annoyed usually don't succeed. Because of that very reason, I know what they're trying to do, so it annoys them if I don't get annoyed. So I get my own back. You know, from that point of view. I mean, I think you've probably seen that in the past on streams, haven't you? With certainly my streams, where somebody's come in and said something, and I've gone, "Yeah, you're right," which immediately shuts them up. Or, you know what? Stop doing that, or you're banned. And they either stopped it or they got banned, and it wasn't really a problem. I I'm a big boy. Somebody saying something like that on the internet. Nah. But no, it's so whilst yes, it possibly will happen to your game, you will have the people that like it as well, and that you just have to decide, as I say, whether you know the criticism that you've heard is valid or not. If it's not valid, then it's not criticism, is it? It's somebody that's trying their hard. You know, the way you might look at it is somebody who makes that sort of comment perhaps is saying it because they can't do it and they're jealous. And so they're trying to make you feel bad about it, make it so that you can't do it either. That way they're better because, you know, they couldn't do it and you can't do it, therefore it's not possible to do, is it? And that's the sort of thing that they're doing. If you think about it that way, you then are, you know, you don't have as it doesn't get you emotionally. Okay, so yeah, I could put some. Yeah, we could do that as well. Yeah, alright. So I've got a basic outline of the sort of thing I'm looking to achieve with this. Tell you what, that kind of reminds me of a bit Tron-like, in that it's sort of just a bit of glowing stuff. For the part, when I did the train yesterday, I keep saying yesterday, but the last train. And this. Whenever I do any form of art, and when I did airbrushing before, one of the things I was always after was detail. I love detail. I kind of would love to be able to paint something that you can't tell from a photograph, and there are airbrushes that can do that. It's a while ago now. I've forgotten his name. But I was watching on some of the airbrush forums one guy that does paint like that. I was looking at, he kept posting pictures as the image was developing, and if you didn't know that he was actually being honest, you would swear it was a photograph. I mean, but okay, I guess you could manipulate photographs, but you know, he did actually keep posting images, photographs, because that was before video was around a lot. But he kept posting things, and you saw the development, and knowing the skill of the guy anyway, he wasn't faking it. But it was, you know, the images you were looking at, you could have put a photograph next to it and gone, which is which, and you perhaps wouldn't be able to tell. And I've kind of always loved that thing, but I'm kind of, over the past, you know, with the plane, with the train, even with this, like this, I kind of like this really loose style of, you know, it's fuzzy, there's not a lot of detail in there, there's no straight lines. It's something that's really different from me. And I'm kind of liking it. I'm not sure how much I can carry on inspirational wise with things like this, but anyway, let's carry on. Having said that, okay. I'm definitely going to have to get the black paint out though on this one. Oh dear, I'm not hitting my mark tonight. I could use a shield, but I kind of want to play with doing this freehand just to see what happens. Well, one thing that happens is that the paint isn't flowing quite so well. I don't know if I've mixed this thicker or... Not quite what, but it's not quite coming out as I would like it to. So what I want to do is that with this, with a fuzzy-ish sort of top on it. Fade it out as we go back. Let's dust it like that. That actually makes it look like it's travelling really fast, which it shouldn't be. Eddie Fall Guy, good evening. Welcome this evening to the studio, and how are you doing? Now that's interesting. 2 game developers in the stream tonight. Incredible Wolfie. Meet Eddie Fall Guy, who is also a game developer, and vice versa. We are both developing games. Don't know how similar. So Eddie, how are you going to describe yourself? I've seen you streaming on and off for the past couple of weeks, but it's been a really busy time at work and I've not actually watched streams. But so unfortunately, don't know how things have been going. So how's your game going? I did that yesterday. I don't know whether I had a bad night's sleep, but yesterday was a really tiring day. I was going to say game day. And by the time I finished work, I was walking around sort of feeling like half a zombie. and sit down and fall asleep. Literally sit down and fall asleep. And there's no way I can stream last night, so I cancelled last night's stream. You were streaming earlier today though, weren't you? C# is something I want to learn, but I'm not there yet. I've done a tiny bit of C#, but at the time when I wanted to specifically learn C#, I wanted to interface with C code, C libraries, DLLs on Windows, and then you have to wrap it, and I hadn't learned how to do that yet, so it sort of, I gave up at that point. That probably wants to do that rather than go. That looks better, like that. Yep. In fact, I make a mistake there. That's going like there. Okay. I saw the notification, Eddie, but I was in the middle of reading code for my day job, managing a database, but I was reading some of the interface code to try and solve a problem, and kind of have to concentrate on that to the point where I actually I have to concentrate that much. I actually have to turn streams off. Normally when I want to concentrate at work I put a stream on. But these sorts of problems where turn stream off area. I was about to say these days, kind of C++, if you talk about Windows programming with C++ as opposed to C++ as a language, because a lot of people do mean that. Windows programming with C++ is not easy. It's not got any easier since I did used to program Windows and C++. And the hard thing is the object work, actually, more than anything in the frameworks. Straight C++ on its own isn't bad, and C#, C++. C# was kind of developed. It was kind of Microsoft's version of C++, sort of, and they share a lot in terms of concepts and things. So you probably wouldn't find a lot of difference. Visual Basic, different keywords, but I don't find there's that much difference in a lot of languages and concepts. Visual Basic, if you're talking about Object Visual Basic, then C++, C#. I suppose you can write C#, non-object orientated, but these days I'm starting to. These days, being the past few years, I get on with object orientation a lot better, and I sort of understand object work a lot better, and I find it a lot easier to program these days in object language than I do in procedural. Yeah, well, a lot of times, so some languages are better for some things than others. I mean, I guess I kind of started with assembler and worked up from there through, a long time ago when BASIC was not even visual and it was basic, and sort of build up from there. And so started then with C. Did a bit of things like Fortran and stuff like that. So I got used to using other languages, and then C++ came along, which was kind of like C, so you were building on top of that. I'm trying to learn it straight off. I mean, if you're doing C#, that's not bad these days. There isn't kind of a lot of difference. Yeah, I know. I mean, I suppose C# is using managed code, a lot of libraries, but C++, C#, whether they're using libraries or not, don't know. Something I need to play with at some point, but not tonight, as they say. Oh, blimey. Well, that's that was completely off mark. Which of those is right? Which of those is right? That's... I may get a mask out, and not a mask, a shield out. And tidy some of these lines up, but then again, in my nose, as I was saying earlier, I'm kind of liking this really loose approach that I'm using here. That want really big windows. I'm trying to work out what that angle I think is wrong. It probably wants to be more like that. Is that better? It is. White is the worst. White's got the highest pigment load of just about any paint, and surprisingly black isn't actually far behind it in terms of the amount of actually pigment in the paint. There are depends on the paint that you're using as well. I mean, I'm using water-based paints here, or waterborne paints rather than solvent paints. Because solvent paints might potentially be better, but they tend to be transparent because they tend to use dyes rather than pigments. But reducing it, which means watering it down, for those people that are watching that don't know the terminology, reducing it with a compatible solvent of some kind, which in water-based paints is often water, or what I'm actually using here is the base carrier liquid, which isn't quite, well, it is largely water, but it's also got other stuff in it. So if you sort of thin it down using the material that the pigment is in to start with, you just get less pigment. What you've got to be a little bit careful of sometimes, especially with both white and black, is you get a colour shift if you're not careful, if you water it down too much. But it's Yeah, what I'm going to hear is not so much clogging, because clogging really is kind of different terminology again. You may mean what I would call tip dry, but if you talk about clogging, that's usually bits of dried paint, if you like, for example, which is in the paint, which is then getting into the nozzle and literally clogging the nozzle, as opposed to usually what happens is when the paint's coming out of the nozzle, which is coming out from around the needle, you get tiny droplets which stick to the needle, and then the air that's coming past it dries them out, so you get dry paint stuck to the needle, and that's what's described as tip dry. So you get paint drying on the tip of the needle. That disrupts the airflow pattern, and if it builds up enough, it actually sort of blocks the end of the nozzle, and yeah, that's a pain in the neck. You've got to watch it, because you can actually end up splattering paint all over your whatever it is you're painting. Yeah, it's like a tip dry. It's just like everything else, isn't it? There is a language to it, which when you understand it, is a short form for it. You know, you understand what is meant by that particular terminology, and somebody using a different terminology to describe the same thing, often it's, you know, two people could be talking about the same thing using different terminology, and they think they're talking about something completely different. I mean, to some extent, it's kind of like sort of saying opening a ring. What's opening a ring mean? You know, you understand what it means. I understand what it means. Somebody else, gosh, how do you open a ring? You know, it's things, but yeah. So there's kind of different solutions to clogging and to tip dry. Tip dry is a really awkward one, which is sort of occupied airbrushes for years, and paint manufacturers as well, trying to formulate paint that you don't get tip dry on. For long enough, I'm using, I think we've discussed it before, I'm using ETAC here. He says trying to put that up to a camera, and probably not up to this one. The Colour Cows. I don't know if it's still available, to be honest, but ETAC paint. I used to really love ETAC paint. It smells nice as well. And I never used to have a problem with the white. I could spray it quite well. But I don't know if it's because this bottle has been stood for a long time. The other bottle has this problem. This was a brand new bottle, sealed. Or I'm just out of practice, but I'm kind of still having a difficulty with it. I am getting tip dry on this, and it could well be I'm just not mixing it properly, although I used to use it neat. And so I used to also mix Createx or Autowear reducer in with it as well, which has got an alcohol in it, and alcohol is a good way of stopping tip dry. I don't quite know why, because you'd think the alcohol would evaporate off and make it stick more, but it doesn't. So yeah, the only thing I don't like, well, Createx, the latest Createx, I don't know. Createx wasn't, yeah, Createx Autowear, same colour, same paints. I don't know what the latest ones are like, but yeah, if they've not been used for a while, mine have been stood for this bottle, for example, which I tried on the this is the other bottle. I tried this last week, last Friday or last Saturday I think it was. Tried using that, and it's been stood for 2 years. And it's thickened, and actually the I'll say the solvent, the carrier liquid, some of it has evaporated, so it's thickened. Not only is it settled, but it's thickened, and I haven't been able to revive that one, so I'm kind of suspect that my other paints are in a similar situation. The things like the Createx that I've got, not Createx, Autowear that I've got here, though, is in a big bottle. Nice thing about big bottles is they shake up a lot easier, so that one didn't seem so bad when I tried playing with that. So my bigger bottles are probably going to be okay. I don't know about the small bottles of ETAC though. It'll be a pity because they're not cheap. Used to be about a £5 for a bottle of ETAC. Partly because it had to come. I ended up having to buy it from Holland. But it's still not fantastically cheap. But mind you, there again, now there's much airbrush paints. Wicked is one I feel like trying. I don't know what the latest paints are, to be honest, because you know, they do develop over time. Wicked. Oh, the Wicked 100. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've forgotten who I used to get them from. Incredible Wolfie. Marissa, somebody other. In airbrush terms, she's quite famous. Famous enough that I can't remember her name. I don't actually know where it's made. I don't know if it says. Or you know, where it was formulated, shall we say? It's a USA. Okay, ETAC is USA. Yeah, Wicked was kind of the next, on from Createx, and I never actually managed to get around to trying that. It's an Wicked. There was a few, and some. I think it was Createx and Autoware, and now I'm going. Am I right as to them being the same paint, but just in different bottles, effectively in different colour ranges, same formulation, same company, but I can't actually remember. Ah dear, I am kind of well out of it. That sounds bad. It is. You know, I haven't picked up an airbrush until I started doing these for 2 years. So literally, it was completely out of it. I've not been on any of the forums or anything like that to see what's happening these days in terms of airbrushes, compressors, paints especially. Yeah, I kind of when we moved into the studio, one of the things I did was very purposely installed an air line all the way from here to the garage, where I've got the big compressor as opposed to the small airbrush compressor. And he says the small airbrush compressor is still a hefty box because it's not one of the tiny ones. It's actually a proper compressor with an air tank. But I've got the big compressor in the garage, which I use for engraving, because the dental drill, which I use for engraving, uses a horrendous amount of air, and it won't run off a small compressor. It has to run off a fairly beefy 3 kilowatt compressor, 3 horsepower compressor. And I'd installed the line. I got it connected up not so long ago, and I was doing some glass engraving on stream, and I kept looking at an airbrush which was sat on the desk and thinking, I really ought to pick one of those up again, and kept sort of going, I really ought to, and then finally last Saturday I actually did it. And then I spent most of the stream trying to actually get paint to come out of it, because it just wouldn't spray anything like I wanted it to come out. You know, you can see that this is really finely sprayed, relatively speaking. I've gone over it a few times, but I was getting blobs and all sorts coming out. It just was not a good spray. But so I've got all my airbrushes out. I haven't got all my airbrushes out. I've got 3 of them out, just in case. I don't know why, because the 2 Iwatas, the two here. The 2 Iwatas are kind of a bit big for this. They're alright. Actually, that one might not be so bad. I think one's got a 0.3 nozzle and one's got a 0.45 in it. And maybe I ought to have a play with them. This is kind of my favourite one. It's got a point. Actually, I think it's 0.15 rather than 0.2. millimeter nozzle in it. It is a really nice airbrush, and I'm still getting used to it again. I used to use this one all the time, and the others I used to use when I was doing things like backgrounds or fairly large areas. I'd use the those others. Although, having said which, that actually was the very first airbrush I bought. No. Again, that's kind of a misleading statement. 40 years ago I bought a little plastic airbrush which was absolutely no good, and I do have it around somewhere, I think. This was my first proper airbrush I bought when I started, when I did my computer case. And I actually did the computer case with that, including all the background, so the whole case was sprayed inside and out using that airbrush in blue. And then I went on and did the aquatic animals and background using that. So it's it's a good airbrush, and you can actually get some nice detail out of that. The Eclipse, which is the low end airbrush. Although I must admit, I do like the trigger. I kind of like the trigger airbrush. These, which you operate the paint lever with your finger, if I'm do it for a long period of time, it makes my finger hurt. And this, for some reason, just fits me nicely. I use it like this, and I can use it. I can literally write with this airbrush, just because I can control the paint with that and the airbrush with my two fingers, like I would a pencil. And that one I find a lot easier to do some things with, just because of that. I ought to have another play with them. You sort of develop a style as to what airbrushes you like for doing certain things, and that might actually be better for doing some of this sort of stuff. Again, it's the sort of thing I should actually... I've just naturally gone to using this one, just because it's the airbrush I used to use all the time. But I can tell I'm way out of practice doing this, just by the fact that I'm not actually getting a smooth thing. No. Actually, incredibly Wolfie, I did. So you should be alright posting links. There you go, Eddie. The velocity. I've never actually used any of the Badger airbrushes. I think I remember you saying before. Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people. Even people doing things like just making a comment about something that was, I don't know, broken on their airbrush or something. Making a comment in the forum, and they've actually had Badger contacting them directly and sort of say, "Here's a spare," or here's another airbrush type of thing. And from that point of view, that sort of aftercare has been fantastic. I've never actually had any. I mean, I'm using Iwata. Those two are Iwata. This is I've forgotten who makes the Infinity now. I can't remember, but I've had no reason to. Yeah, as I say, the Iwata was the first one I ever got, so and that was kind of on the recommendation of various airbrush artists, shall we say. And my second one was the Infinity. I actually bought this one afterwards because I was having that problem. This is still a double action airbrush. It's not a single action. This is a double action, and a lot of the trigger ones are single action. So that's I don't know. I kind of stuck with Iwata just from the point of view of I'm used to them. I know what they're like, if you see what I mean, or I'm happy with the other one that I've got, and therefore, because I've got a G5 as well, which is an Iwata. That's a bigger. It's on the point of being an air gun as opposed to an airbrush, but it's a fairly sizable thing. But yeah, they are nice. Yeah, I've even seen stories of things like, you know, something like that. You know, you split the nozzle, and even under guarantee, they've done things like said, you know, if let's say you damaged a barrel. And I'm making this up, but I've seen sort of people who've done things like that, damaged an air valve, where they would have needed to send the airbrush in to have it repaired, and Badger have sent them one out and said, when you get the replacement, send yours back. You know, and you know, so they've been given the replacement before they've actually even sent the other one in. So it's been, you know, yes, I agree. It's excellent service. With a Badger single action, yeah. Well, this one, this is a double action, as I said. This will take glass jars. It's a side feed. I do have a jar feed. Well, I've got a bottle feed for it, but I've also got a large cup. And this one is nice because it's left-hand, right-handed. I can just switch it over. And but I've got a bottle feed for this that hangs the other way, so it'll act both as a gravity and a siphon feed. And the double action is nice in that respect. You've got a lot more control. I'm going to say one of the cheaper ones used to be Grex. Some of their brushes were supposedly quite nice. I don't know what their sales after sales is like, but some of their airbrushes were reputedly quite nice as well. I kept meaning to get their low end model, just for doing things like doing the solvent based stuff, because I kind of don't want to use solvents in these airbrushes. They are solvent okay. They've got Teflon seals, but solvent's a heck of a lot harder to clean up. So I didn't want to use solvent in a one of these airbrushes, shall we say, one of my favourite airbrushes. So I was going to get a couple of the Grex airbrushes because they were relatively cheap at the time to do things like spray. I was going to say varnish, but clear coat on things like this or on some of the other stuff. So, and it's things like the clear coat is a solvent. There's not many good, or there wasn't any good waterborne versions of things like clear coat to use on anything. So, I really didn't want to use a sort of an expensive brush for what would have been just a straight spray coat as opposed to any sort of detail. Yes, unfortunately, this one isn't spraying as well as yet. But with the light, I can, even with this one, I can write with this as well. I can get. I have had in the past lines on here. You take a pencil like a 2H pencil, sharpen it to a point, and draw with it. I can draw lines just as thin with this. If you can imagine how sharp that is. or I could do lines with it, shall we say. I'm not necessarily sure I can do it at the moment, but okay, now I need to replicate that going backwards. So this probably wants to go brighter, but you can see the fade out that you're getting from this, and that fade away from the focal point gives you, it starts to enhance that impression of it going away into the distance. And that's what I'm kind of looking, I want to eventually end it with a graduation that's from here all the way to basically almost black at the back. I don't want to lose completely the back end. At least I don't think so. Might do. As it is at the moment, that's probably a little bit too bright, but we can always adjust that afterwards. But that's what I'm kind of now aiming towards. I don't know whether I want to tighten any of this up and actually get sharp lines. I will put some black into this, and because I've not been really all that accurate about drawing light, coming down and across. But I don't know quite how much sharper I want to get. I am, as I said at the start of the stream, I'm kind of really enjoying the looseness of this this thing, and just how sort of rough and sort of fuzzy it is. It's kind of a different experience of art, full stop, for me. Is this sort of really fuzzy look. That's kind of actually, interestingly, you're right, it does. And interestingly, before I started airbrushing this time, I was kind of thinking, what did I want to do? And the one I remember seeing a long time ago, maybe it might have been months, but sometime in the past, a picture of a train, which is kind of what started me on it, which was the train was literally coming out of the mist. So it was sort of, the picture with quite a lot white around it. As it went into the distance, it just disappeared into a fog bank, shall we say. But it just faded out as it went back, and that was kind of the image that I had in my mind when I did when I started doing this. But I did a plane at night instead in an airport rather than the train. I did the train second. That's the one I did night before last, and that one doesn't look quite so much. That one looks more ghostly. This one, yes, you're right. It does have that sort of misty look about it. Interesting. Thank you. It's interesting, isn't it, how you think of a misty day with a black background. I was thinking, what I was kind of thinking about was more sort of moonlight. I suppose I could go sharper. What I might do for another day, not this one, but do more or less the same thing again, but go for real sharp, and maybe do it like a nighttime type thing. So we get really sharp edges on the windows and things like that, and just see where we go from there. But just at this moment in time, as I say, I am enjoying this really misty sort of loose style, which is completely new to me to do this sort of thing. Yeah, sure. So the first one, I'll show you this just in a second, this is what I did, having never picked up an airbrush in the last 2 years. So this was the first one. So I like it. Actually, I was discussing with Wolfie earlier. I could do better, but I decided that was it. So that was kind of just picking up the airbrush and just playing with it, and struggling with the fact that the paint wasn't flowing very well, but it came out quite well. And the one we did the night before last was that. I'll just lift that up a bit because and that one, there's no black on there at all. That's just pure white. The plane had used black and white together. To tighten up that image. There's black and white used on there. This is just pure white paint. There was no black used at all. And at the end of the stream, I just went, you know what? I actually like that as it is. I'm just going to leave it. There's very little on there. But it actually, I think, looks quite effective. Yeah. It's either sort of a really high-speed train or a ghostly sort of train. But, it's sort of... Lady Zara actually said it looks kind of like a ghost train. But I thought it was interesting enough to just leave. And, the plane. That was... really hard trying to get paint to come out without splattering and going all over the place, but yes, I could do better, and I think the perspective is slightly off there, and some of the angles are not right, but you know what, it was fun doing it. And then, it's just, it has, I like doing I always used to like doing monochrome, black and white, but I used to do portraits of people. You might see one occasionally pop up here. Actually, no, it won't pop up there. But there is a monochrome one that was done on scraperboard of John Miles. I've done 2 or 3 of John now, with Airbrush, and I'm going to say I'm not too bad. that's a sort of a relative statement. But my experience of monochrome airbrushing in white on black has been portraits. So coming to do, and they are sort of very loose, like sort of more like this. You don't have hard edges as much as you do when you're doing objects. And so I'm more used to those than I am used to doing objects like this. But it is proving, well, to me it's proving interesting. Interesting. I'm going to say the other interesting thing is the other type of monochrome that I've done has been sepia, so sepia on white. I might have shown you one of those in the past. I did, because it used to sit around just behind where I used to broadcast from in the other studio, and that was of a cowboy town, which actually was in Spain. Spain or was it Spain or the Canary Isles? No, I'm not thinking Canary Isles. Tenerife I was thinking of. Tenerife or Spain, I can't remember which place. But yeah, cowboy set, and that one was that's done sepia on white, which is an interesting technique. When you're doing monochrome white on black, the one thing you can do with white on black is you can put black on it. So if I want to erase something, I can use black paint. black background is the only background you can do that on. You can't do it on white. If it's white paper, you can't put white on to erase it because you can't get the same shade. Black is kind of black. It doesn't show up on black paper, even if the shades don't match exactly. Black on black doesn't show up, but any sort of white on white does. And if you have a blue background, for example, you can put white on blue, but you can't put blue back over the top to erase anything. So you're just very much like the sepia tone. You get one shot at it when you're working on white and on any colour but black. But with black, I can put black in the airbrush. And I can, paint that window black, and you won't notice that it's had white underneath it, for example. And I probably will do something like that, or put something in there just to blacken them off a bit. And I certainly want to do around here, which is the hull of the boat, and tidy these lines up a bit. So I will be doing black on this, and probably black under here. Now the interesting thing about this paper now is I can actually see, if you look down here, this very edge here actually is black. All the rest has got some form of white on it, even up here. I can see it here. You possibly can see it, but you might not realise it. But it's there's overspray on the whole of that image, apart from maybe just down here in this bit area down here. So one of the things I have to decide is, do I want to paint that black again afterwards? Yeah, I'm not sure. It used to be around there, and if I was talking about it, about airbrushing, especially if 3D guy was around, 3D, is it 3D guy? 3D, what was his name? Can't remember now. 3D something. Because obviously he was airbrushing as well. And he was airbrushing. I wasn't doing it on stream, and would have been talking about things like that, things like the elephant, for example, you might have seen, or what else did I have hanging around? It was the elephant, the monorail from Disney World or Disneyland. I think I had that one hanging around as well. That one was done in colour. Oh, that one's around here somewhere. Just over here, I think. Yeah, it is. It's here. So this is quite an old one that I did a long time ago now. When I was first doing airbrushing. So that was the, I think I did I've done pyrography of this same image as well, I believe, off the top of my head. So this was back when I would say learning it. I'm always learning airbrush, have always been, still will do for many years probably. But this was sort of back in the early days, so potentially there's a lot of mistakes in there, but I enjoyed doing it. 3D blow. That's it, yeah. That's it, 3D blow. I remembered the other day, but then forgot, but I was close. But yeah, thanks for checking. Because of course he used to do airbrushing all the time. He stopped. He must have stopped airbrushing about 18 months ago then, because he used to. My brain isn't working tonight. He started helping and promoting somebody who's doing music, house music. House. I can't remember her name now, but it was the group around that time. No, I haven't seen him. I'd say it was almost 18 months. Lost in house, that's it, thank you. You'll have a better memory than I do, sir. He was helping her out a lot on her streams, doing moderation, things like that, and dealing with the how do you describe the less desirable element of people that go into some of those streams? But yeah, and I think he sort of got involved there. I don't know if literally don't know if he's still around on Twitch or not. Or if it helps Lost out at all. That edge is too. It's amazing. The image that you're seeing actually looks a lot brighter than it does here. So the camera is showing up a lot more contrast than I'm getting. And now I've just, because I've oversprayed this, I've got a whitish blob there, which is whiter than I wanted. Oh well. My technique is really bad. What I ought to do is get a piece of blank paper and just do practice. Dagger strokes and dots and lines and actual fades, because I should I should fade by spraying like this at an angle as opposed to straight down and tapering the paint off. And yeah, I should. My technique is really bad, and I'm not going to try it because I will make a mess. But okay, so I'm kind of debating whether to do any detail on there. And I'm also trying to debate what to do down in here, because it's a canal, of course. Do I want to do a canal side? I suppose I could do the canal side and perhaps do some form of towpath down here. Or I could just leave it like that, fade it out, so that we've got, because I mean, if we're talking about a canal, then you know, he's on the right hand side of the canal, which is actually the right side. You drive on the right, if I remember rightly, on canals, which means that the canal bank would be down here, way, you know, literally at this sort of angle down here. So, and this would just be water, because there's usually enough room in a canal for two boats to pass each other in the navigable section, which is basically almost up to the bank usually. So if you kind of think how wide that would be, it would be down to here. So the bank, if there was going to be one, would be here. So actually I probably don't want to put a canal bank down there because it wouldn't look right. November 2015. Okay. So he carried on after I stopped actually, because is it November 2015? No, that must be the last time he had a clip or something like that. Because I stopped in April and I'm sure he was still, he was on and off around, I think. Yeah, could be right actually, November 2015. November, December, yeah, because he was only on occasionally. I remember up until the point I stopped streaming, which was in April 2016. He was sort of still in the odd stream, but he still streamed occasionally, but not very often. And then I just stopped even being on Twitch. I didn't watch much even for a year or so. So that's when I lost track altogether. So if this is actually water, we actually want to put some paint on it. Now, the nice thing about this is I can be really just sort of spray it any old how, because of course water, there's a boat passing through it, so it's not going to be static. I'm not going to get a nice sort of reflection in it. I'm going to get all sorts of jumbled up sort of things. Here it is. See that line there, which you can see really easily? I can hardly see it here. The camera is really picking up on the contrast. I am struggling to see the edge, which I'm running my finger down there, but here I am struggling to see it in real life. Amazing. So all of this so far has been done with 3 drops of white paint. Okay, it's been diluted with 4 drops of carrier liquid, the reducer. So in total that's about 7 drops of paint, and I've not used half of it in the airbrush. It's kind of amazing just how far paint goes. It's kind of music to my. I hate wasting materials, so things like bits of wood blocks that I bought for carving, I kind of don't want to waste them just doing anything. I want, the special. I've got to do something special with them. I've got to get over that mentality, because there never will be something that's special. There's always going to be some reason why I won't use it. I've got to get into actually using it, but 3 drops of pigment, 3 or 4 drops of reducer, it is kind of nice. But now I'm looking at, there's probably 2 or 3 drops of paint still in there. There's another 3 or 4 drops of paint in the bottom of that mixing cup, and it's kind of I'm going to have to throw them away. I don't like that. I don't like wasting it, which means throwing it away. Which is really, I'm a bit weird like that, I guess. So what I also want to do what I will want to do is put some decoration on the bow here. Get rid of the tip dryer for that. Camera's in my way a bit here. That's brighter than I want it, but I will be using black on it at some point, so we'll be able to tone that down a bit. I will come back over here on a fairly sharp line around there, just to separate the top from the top of the hull from the bottom of the hull. Not quite sure, but I kind of do want to do that. Now what we'll do is spray that. We can go back over with the black to tone it down slightly once I put black in, which will be tomorrow. I'm not going to put black in the airbrush tonight. "12 stream and lots of painting then." Sorry, Eddie, I don't follow that comment. You may have made it a few minutes ago, because I'm a little bit bad when I've discovered when I'm painting. I'm a little bit bad about watching the chart, but I've just realised that actually looks like it's faulty. Then that angle's wrong. That needs to come down more, because it looks like it's tilted over. Because of that, it kind of looks like it's the whole boat looks like it's falling, as though it's trapped on the bank and the water level's going down and it's starting to roll. So I need to adjust that because that cue is wrong. So that'll be something where I'll go over in the black and just adjust that angle down at this side so it tapers off, and that way then it won't give that impression of rolling over. Yeah, Yeah, and they probably need to be a little bit straighter as well, because again they're slightly off, which is again giving that sort of falling over sort of look. Now it's kind of interesting because there's a line in there which is originally one of my rough working lines, and it kind of looks like a reflection in the window, which is interesting. It's almost as though it's reflecting the other bank. Oh, 12 strip to use the paint up. Yeah. Unfortunately, it won't last. The only paint I've actually mixed in quantity was the blue for the computer case, and I had about, well, I filled a bottle like this about 6 times to do the computer case, and even then I had some left. It was kind of like, you know, I'd used about I'd used a bottle of paint about that size, and it had been reduced down and what have you to spray to do it. But I ended up after about 6 of these, about half a bottle left. And it was still kind of, I don't really want to throw this, and I had it in the bottle for about a couple of months afterwards, to the point where it's actually stained the bottle. And so I did wash the bottle out. Don't want to throw the bottle away. Only about 50p a bottle. But yeah, the bottom half is kind of stained blue, which means I can't really put anything, can't really use it for anything, because I suppose I could put water in it, but if I put any other paint in it, the blue will actually mix and it will tint, shade. It will change the colour of the whatever paint I put in it, so I can't actually use it for anything. Maybe water is about the only thing, maybe a cleaning bottle, but yeah, I don't like I don't like stuff left over, but there's no way I'm going to end up using the paint that's in this airbrush tonight, that's for sure. So what I'm going to do also is put some paint into this bridge at the back. I did not mean to do quite as heavy as that. It's actually drying out in the airbrush now as well, so I probably could do with emptying it out, because it's been in this airbrush now for 2 hours. What I'll probably do tomorrow is, with some black, start to put something in there that resembles brick-like markings of some kind. Probably just hinted a few, just to give you that sort of bridge-like impression. Yeah, this paint is thickening up in the brush. I'm probably going to make a mess if I carry on much more, but which is an indication that it's about time I stopped as well. I haven't got that angle. I want that at a particular angle. That doesn't look right. It's the wrong shape at the moment. But so it's at this point where I start cleaning the airbrush out. So all I'm going to do is waste paint. There we go. That's empty. Is that water? Yes, that is water. So if I'm lucky, I won't have to spend an hour or so cleaning the airbrush out tonight, which is what I had to spend the other night. There was something in the nozzle the other night, which was meaning it wouldn't seal properly. not easy to clean airbrushes out. It's easy enough to sort of rinse them, which is what I'm doing now. I'm just putting water in and spraying it through the airbrush, which, largely speaking, is almost enough to just use to change colour. So I sort of put a couple of cups full of water through an airbrush, then I can sort of change colour. If it was black, I'd have to clean it properly, but to go to white to something else or any other colours, I can generally just flush it through a couple of times, and then move on to it's nice and clean, and then move on to another colour. Interestingly, as you heard me say, it's nice and clean. When you're rinsing an airbrush out like this, the noise that it makes spraying tells you a lot about how clean it is. Especially when the liquid disappears and you get if you get a quick transition to just air sound, you know that it's clean. It's because it's blasted all the paint out. I'm not sure I can actually. I'll see if I can get this thing to. Actually, I'm close enough to the mic. You probably will hear it. So we're nearly out of water. Don't know if you heard that transition. It was quite sudden. There was a little bit of a glitch in it, but it was quite sudden. That generally means that it's quite clean. There's no sort of particles stuck in the end. Now at this point, this would be clean enough for me to stick another colour into it, but I'm not going to do that. So what I will do, I'm not going to do it on stream, but I will strip this airbrush down to at least take the nozzle off the front and to take the needle out, and make sure they're clean and free of paint before I pack it up for the evening. Some people will sort of leave water in the airbrush overnight if they're carrying on the next day. I don't. Partly because I might decide not to carry on the next day, and then I either have to remember to clean the airbrush out, or the water dries eventually in it, and then you're left with dried paint. And dried paint in an airbrush is not good. It's really hard to get rid of dried paint. He says, seeing that I've got some in the bottom there, there isn't too many ways of doing it, especially if it's in the nozzle itself. Quite often in those situations, it's either a new nozzle, or if you're lucky, you can use an ultrasonic cleaner, and the ultrasonic cleaner will sometimes get things clean. Right, well, that's that I'm going to have to strip down. So I'm not going to do that on camera. I did it the other night, but it's a bit of there's not a lot to see. You just see a needle coming out and me looking through nozzles to see if the nozzle is clean, and that's about it. I'm going to carry on with this, hopefully, I'll say tomorrow night. Don't think I'm intending doing anything tomorrow which will make it awkward to stream tomorrow night, but so I am intending to stream tomorrow night. That would be somewhere between 1900 and 2000 hours GMT, not GMT, British Summer Time. That's 18 to 1900 hours GMT, and then we'll stream for about 2 hours, give or take a bit, depending on exactly when I start. We'll carry on with this. I want to do more on it than I've done at the moment. It's an interesting idea leaving as it is, but I think I want to do a bit more on this one. Unlike the train, I probably want to tidy up a lot of this. Just for a different sort of way of doing it, slightly different technique to the way I've done the other one. I'm just playing about with Monochrome and with the airbrush, and yes, I particularly want it to fix that, didn't I? So that it doesn't look like it's rolling over. So whilst I'm here, I'm just going to point out all the URLs in the bottom end. Feel free to check them out, of course. And gradually getting YouTube. YouTube is gradually being uploaded with the archive. I've still got something like about 650 hours of video to upload, which is all the earlier streams. So there's a heck of an archive there. I don't know how YouTube do it, because I will be, at the end of this, I will have uploaded something like about nearly 800 gigabytes. Not that far off a terabyte of data. And if you think how many other people must upload videos, they must have a heck of a lot of storage. So yes, the websites are there, and of course I'm going to point out the two buttons at the top, the follow button if you would like to come back and see this being continued if you're not already following, and the subscription button as well. It would be great if you could consider subscribing. It goes towards buying all sorts of materials, whether it be paper, paint, or tools like chisels, or even another camera perhaps. It goes towards that sort of thing if you feel like supporting the channel in that way. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you on the next stream, and see you on the next stream. Bye for now.